So, Katie, at Legacy, when we first set this up, I know you were very instrumental in making sure that we had a specific style of plan and arrangement for clients. Would you go through how that sits and what the parts to it consist of, please?
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. So this is our legacy protection plan that you're talking about, which is really an overview or a summary of a client's situation, and then the call to action that we feel is important in order to make sure that they've got the robust estate planning in place. So as far as the process is concerned, the process is divided really into 5 separate sections. We start with what we would call the asset assessment discussion, because clients always come to the table with a variety of arrangements and things that they've done over the years. So, we feel it's really important to assess any wills and trusts that they've already got in place and review the planning there. To consider the family tree, think about the members of their family, their loved ones, who their beneficiaries would be. Think about their current assets, but also their future assets, because lots of my clients are anticipating that they might become beneficiaries of their own parents' estate or other family members' estate. And we talk about the lasting legacy that they want to leave for their own family. Some of our clients will have more complicated estates, and there might be some analysis that needs to be done, looking into the detail of that, really so we can understand what they've got and perhaps what the inheritance tax liabilities are going to be, so we can put a recommendation together. So that's the first part. The second part is what we would call our solutions builder. So that's, back at HQ, we're reviewing the assets and the desired outcomes of our clients. We're consulting with our legal partners. We're actually choosing the right options and solutions for our clients so that we can put together their legacy protection plan. The third section really is the protection planning presentation. So this is reviewing the planning options and recommendations in the client's legacy protection plan and actually agreeing what the action points are and moving forwards. And then the fourth part is the legacy protection plan. So this is implementing the solutions, whether that's new wills, whether we're including trusts, whether we're making gifts to family or their investments. We would typically have Zoom meetings with the clients, perhaps need to go through the planning a couple of times, and then invite the family, if relevant, who are going to be the trustees, so that we can talk through what the responsibilities would be for executors and trustees involved with the planning. And then we would talk about storing the documents somewhere safe so that they're all centralised and we know that they're being looked after. And then the final thing is the annual upkeep. So it really is making sure that we've got the structure in place to make sure that there's an annual will check-up, we've got all the up-to-date information, to make sure that any legislation changes that have happened in the previous year are understood, and if there are implications on the planning, then we can tweak or make adjustments. Making sure that the trustees at the trustee meeting minutes are done for each of the trusts. That's a service that Legacy Protection provide to make sure that's all covered off. And just talking about what the future looks like, what our clients' aspirations are, whether there are things that we're going to need to keep in mind over the next year and planning for the future. So an annual update. And that's really, in a nutshell, the legacy protection plan.
And how long would you say this sort of process takes normally? What would be a typical time frame for a client to expect?
I think from start to finish, Steve, for actually doing the assessments, putting the recommendations together, making a presentation of that and including the family, through to actually drawing up the documents and having them signed and witnessed, probably would take a good 8 to 10 weeks as a minimum, really, because there's a lot involved in that.
Okay. And when it comes to the end of the process, is there a report that you prefer to use? Is there a style of reporting that you would prefer to have in place?
When it's all set up, Steve, or from an
Yeah,
annual?
once it's finished, do you issue a report now? What's your preferred way of finishing it all off?
So the legacy protection plan is a document which goes through what the planning is going to be and what the action points are. And then we've got the actual documentation. And even if documents are going off to be stored, we're storing a copy ourselves, and there's a document for the client as well. So it would all be kept together in a binder. So that is their resource, really.
I know we touched on this between ourselves a little bit, but we've been considering electronic vaults for clients as well.
Yeah.
And sort of there's a share of an electronic vault, and that would probably end up being the right way to store and have easy access to most of these documents as well. Is that something you would prefer?
Yes, I think so. I mean, there's obviously no, you've got to have the documents. These are legal documents, and they have to be signed and witnessed and stored somewhere safe. We can't avoid that. That's an important part of the setting up of the planning. However, copies of those documents and summaries of those documents can be stored electronically, and the digital vault type environment is extremely useful because as a client, you can choose who gets access to those documents, who can view those documents, and you might leave instruction in your will or on death to make those documents available to your executors if you haven't done previously. So we're certainly exploring the possibility of that facility for clients, and I think going forwards it will be extremely important to have it.
Right, quite comprehensive then.
Very comprehensive.
Good. Thanks, Katie.
Thanks, Steve.